My name's Katie and I'm Strategy Director at an agency called Kindred. Tonight I'm going to be talking about creativity for good and the briefs that we set ourselves. So I'm going to be sharing a few stories about how creative thinking can help you solve problems in your community and further afield. I joined Kindred because I was told the kinds of briefs that are going to land on my desk are things like, how do you get more people to become foster parents? And how do you make people aware of modern slavery in the UK? And quite a lot of these amazing briefs are in Kindred's portfolio and the type of work that they do, and that's what drew me to the agency. I think a lot of people in the room could agree with me that if every day could be a day where we're getting briefs about making people aware of slavery and getting more people to be foster parents, we would want to do that work all the time. Obviously, not every brief we get is going to be something that's world-changing. Sometimes you do have to flog loo roll. That's okay. But the kinds of briefs that Kindred get, I think, really motivate the team and also really motivate me to work there. Today I'm going to talk to you about creative thinking and our ability as individuals to make that change. To start you, I'm also going to talk about the briefs that we set ourselves, so not necessarily client briefs or briefs that come from commissions, but things that we care about and want to do. And I'm going to start from the beginning of where I think the first spark was for me. This is my mom. She turned 65 yesterday. She also retired yesterday. Yay! I hope she sees this somewhere. My mum is a social worker, and she spent her career working in child and youth services. Her job was to help young people who are in bad situations be put in better situations. And day by day, she did her job as a social worker. But one thing that she noticed that really upset her is all of the kids that she rehoused, almost all of them, carried their possessions in bin bags. She thought it was really undignified, and actually it's quite depressing. Even looking at that image, you kind of feel a bit sick, that moving between homes, be it foster homes, care homes, all of their things are in carrier bags, bin bags. So she wrote a letter, as you do back in the day, to the chief exec of a luggage company called Spalding, which is North American, and she said, look, do you have bags that are out of season, or ones that have defects, or ones that just you don't need anymore that you could give to me that I could reallocate to a lot of young people moving between homes? And that one letter that she wrote, the CEO agreed, and it meant that lots of kids could have bags to put their possessions in. That's one of very many stories I have about my mother and her creative thinking throughout my life. But that was the first spark where I thought, a matter of hours, she managed to make that change, and that's something we all can do. So the brief that I set myself, the brief that I'm here to talk to you about today, is how do you get more girls and women into football? So again, going back to the past, I'm on the far, I think you're right. This is my big sister, Missy. I played soccer my entire life. I was always an equal. I played in co-ed teams growing up. And 11 years ago when I moved to the UK, I just didn't see women playing football, didn't see girls playing football. Didn't think very much of it until every Wednesday when I would be going to my own football training. This is Stoke Newington Common, if anyone lives in Hackney. I used to live across the street from it. And I'd come back from football, and these girls were on the swings, and they'd say to me, do you know where we could play football? So I thought, I'll find out, and if I see you again, I'll let you know. I phoned the council, I phoned a lot of charities. Everyone I spoke to said, there's just no demand. There's not girls that want to play. Girls football doesn't happen here. Oh, they might be able to go somewhere north, like in Tottenham, but no, girls don't play here. And I said, no, there's girls by the swing, Stoke Newington Common. They want to play. And everyone I approached just said, no, it's not a thing. It's just not done. And I knew that they wanted to play. So I decided that I made a deal with one of the girls called Chloe, and I said, I'm going to turn up every Wednesday, and I'm going to train you. I had my coaching badge, so I trained her and her friends, and then her friends turned into her cousin and her auntie, and most of Pembury Estate. And I thought, I have a lot of young women here who want to play football. I should probably incorporate and get some liability insurance, learn their last names, lots of things that would protect me legally because I had a football club. And with this comes great responsibility, but also I had these girls and I thought, well, we definitely need a way of coming together. we're a football club. We need a badge. We need an identity. So very conveniently at the time, I was working at Pentagram for Naresh Ramchandani under his mentorship. And I said, I've got all these girls. What do I do? And he said, let's give it a name. We played with a lot of different names. I said it couldn't have ladies or girls or women in the title. It had to be just generic, but something that sounded hard and soft at the same time. Had to be flexible enough that if we decided to ever grow outside of Hackney, it would work. And then there was a designer called Lucy Groom who happened to be an amazing right back, and she played for Fulham, and she said she'd design the logo. So these were early iterations of it. That's what we ended up with, and we're called Hackney Laces. The colors that we chose were a range of blues and blacks because, again, we didn't want to be too feminine in how we appeared. So, I'm a strategist. I love data. I love insight, understanding what makes people tick, motivations, the reason why they do stuff. And I thought the responsible thing to do with my group of girls is also understand why they come, why they don't come, what they want to be when they grow up. Everything so I could know the audience. What I found is one of the biggest barriers to coming was fear, and this was fear of judgment, fear of what people thought. It's not a girl's thing to do, it's not a girl's sport, I'm not sure if I can do it, what if I'm rubbish? 15% of the girls said childcare, and there's an expression in Hackney, children raising children, and when the girls would say, I can't come, I have to look after someone, I thought it was an excuse, but when I realized it wasn't an excuse, it was genuine, we just set up a creche because all of our coaches are CRB checked, so why not run a daycare? So we have the young ones beside the pitch, and then we have our players playing that can. Timing was an issue, so this happens a lot in football where you put on a session because that's the slot you're allocated, but actually, what if that slot just doesn't work? So we asked all of our girls and women to write down the best times possible, an analog version of a doodle poll, and they said it's Thursdays at 6. So we train Thursdays at 6, and we know that's the best time for them. And it gives us a lot of lobbying power when we're speaking to venues to say, we know we can get 60 women at this time. You have to give us this specific slot, which not a lot of clubs negotiate that. So we're quite proud of that. The last thing was 20% didn't have kit. They felt they didn't have the right kit or appropriate kit, things like football boots, trainers. What's been really amazing about Laces as it's grown, even like last week, someone at Kindred brought their old trainers to me and they said, I've worn them twice, they're pretty decent. Do any of your girls want them? And I said, yeah, great. You have to give it a story because nobody wants secondhand trainers. But if those trainers were worn for your first half marathon or those trainers were worn for an FA Cup qualifier, we need to know that. So people write stories now when they give us trainers or boots or even secondhand clothes. We ask our girls what they want to be when they grow up. And this was a really big thing for me because in my mind, I was really optimistic that I had an army of female footballers and that was enough. It's not, because none of them knew what they wanted to be when they grow up. And also, the ones that did know wanted to be famous. They wanted to be singers or models. They want to go on X Factor, be a singer. Of our pilot group, 21 out of 25 wanted to be famous. And it's admirable, and I think we did have 2 girls go on Britain's Got Talent, but we wanted to give them something more achievable, or at least a fallback plan. So we run an off-the-pitch program. So we do on the pitch from 6 to 7 and off the pitch from 7 to 8. Our off-the-pitch program, and this is my only plug tonight, I promise. If any of you ever want to come and speak to the girls, tell them about your career, tell them about what you do for fun. We always bring external inspiration in to get people to say, this is the career path I went on. This is what I decided to do, because what we learned is exposure to a huge range of opportunities is what inspires them to think differently about what they could be when they grow up. I'm going to play you a little video now. I hope it works.
My name's April and I'm part of Hackney Laces.
My name's Lauren and I'm 11 years old. And my name's Brianne and I'm 13 years old.
My name's Justine and I'm 16 years old.
I'm Chloe and I'm 16.
I'm Amira and I'm 13 years old.
My cousins started coming here first and then they asked me to come one week and then started coming ever since.
It's good because at first sometimes it was only 2 people and now there's so many people and it's good to know that everyone wants to get involved.
Loads of different people, ages as well, different ages from everywhere.
You get to play with everyone that's more advanced than you and everyone that's
like same standards as you.
There's not many teams in Hackney that are like willing like to take so many girls and play football and take it seriously.
It's such a lovely atmosphere, and like all the girls are just so loving, and they're just like a big family.
We go on trips, like we went to the Emirates and we watch the football matches just to see other women play.
We help community, like go pack bags for people in Sainsbury.
I've learned how to work in a team like way more than I could before.
It's taught me a lot of new skills with life and how to get along with people more better.
It's about family and friendship and just all playing together.
It's motivating and it gives me something to look forward to in a week at times because, yeah, there's a lot of negative going on sometimes.
I want to be a footballer.
I want to be a midwife.
A chef.
A child psychologist.
Maybe a footballer, maybe a basketballer, physiotherapist, dancer. I'm not too sure yet.
It's worth mentioning that all of the careers / things they wanted to be when they grow up were directly related to people that came to see them. So we had a child psychologist come in, and 3 months later, everyone wants to be a child psychologist. We had an architect come in, and again, same thing. So something happened with Laces where we became 3. So I met a woman called Sarah Lang, who is a fine artist, and she's based in Tower Hamlets, and she was really frustrated that there's nowhere for her daughter to play. We met for a coffee at Cafe Nero on the Kingsway, and she said, help. I did my badge. The course was awful. I was the only woman. There's nowhere for my daughter to play. And then she said, can I become a lace? And I'd never thought that was a thing until then. And I said, yeah, you can become a lace. What do you want to be? And she said, Limehouse. And I said, okay, that works. And then same situation happened with South London, and I said, do you sure you want to be all of South London, or do you want to be Lambeth or Battersea? With our brand architecture, it felt really messy to be like all of South London, but they said no, because that was their ambition. So we have South London Laces too. The amazing thing about the Laces family is we operate together in terms of our values and our mission of getting as many girls and women into football, but we're so separate in our approach, the way we engage with our clubs and our interactions with the girls. So to give you an example, this is Limehouse Laces, and what Limehouse Laces realized is there's a whole generation of women that have never had the chance to play. All of the mums of their girls, so women who are 40 plus. So they created vintage laces, and the vintage laces, I know, 40 plus is not vintage, but in our world it is. The vintage laces are the mums, and they come and play because their daughters got into it. So it's the daughters bringing their moms in to get involved. We did a portrait series of the girls with their moms. Pete Larkin's amazing photographer, he shot them for us. South London Laces realized that body image and how people feel when they play and how they're perceived was an issue, so they do glow-in-the-dark futsal, so no one can see. So everyone's really comfortable. The lights are on now. This was they did this a few times. But each club operates separately, but we come together a few times a year for All Laces Days to show that across different boroughs in London, there are so many girls and women playing and so many girls and women that care about it. One of the biggest challenges we face in addition to getting space, raising funds, and the whole host of things that come when you have a football club, is the narrative around it. So it's not just doing this thing that we all love. Actually, the world of women's football is not that nice. It's quite a hostile place if you're a woman, especially if you're a woman who's outspoken about football. You get Twitter trolled a lot. You get told you're not meant to be there. A few weeks ago, we were moving the goals, the team I train with, South London Laces, moving our goals into the pitch to make the area smaller. And we were shouted at by the men who've overstayed their welcome on the pitch and then told us to go play with our makeup. This is 2 weeks ago. I mean, so this has happened. We've been around we're going into our 8th year. Yeah, right? So being told we don't look like footballers happens all the time. And from the very beginning, this was something that was really frustrating. So our club tagline, which is used between all 3, is "This is what a footballer looks like." And we did it through loads of t-shirts, lots of merchandise, but worn by anyone, male, female, to anyone that supports the women's game, to say, this is what a footballer looks like, to try to break down those barriers and the assumptions that you don't look like what a footballer should look like. We also get the girls really involved in helping change this narrative. And this is one example. We worked with a partner called London Football Journeys, and they went around to each club to talk about the barriers that they face in playing, but also challenging some of those stereotypes and sharing stories that they've had about why it was challenging for them to get in football in the first place. Another project we've done is we did a collaboration with Nike called the White T-Shirt Project ahead of the World Cup this year. They wanted to identify who real England fans are. And if you think about the typical stereotype of an England fan, they might be bald, they might have a belly, they're definitely male, they're of a certain age. And actually, this is about reconnecting the England shirt with fans that actually support the game in a real context. So our girls were one of 11 that got to design an England kit that was on display at Nike Town. And our lines at the bottom, this is what a footballer looks like. But it was just amazing to see a shirt that we made up in Nike Town for a few weeks, plus pictures of the girls, because they definitely thought they'd made it because they were in Nike Town. And they also got to be in a shoot. She wore that shirt by accident. That wasn't a placement, which we thought was hilarious because it looks like she was meant to wear it. The most recent thing we've been working on is a collaboration with an amazing motion and graphic designer called Kirsten Smith, who's also Canadian, somewhere in this audience too. And this is around, we crowdsourced from all of our older players, our women and our vintage laces, things that people say to them, which aren't necessarily nice. We filtered those down and we made some posters. Now, we took these posters to the younger girls at sessions and asked them, just, do you see anything wrong with this? And we gave them marker pens and we said, change these sentences as you see fit. You don't need to, but what do you think? And they crossed out things like, you're pretty good they crossed out for a girl. They are pretty good. They are good. There should not be a qualifier of because you're a girl. Same with you're a good female coach. No, I'm a great coach. It doesn't matter that I'm female. What was amazing for us is this helps us measure change, because I'm certain if I gave these posters out 7 years ago, the girls wouldn't know what to make of them. But the amazing thing is the narrative has changed and society has moved on, and it's okay for women to play football now. And I think this is one testament to that, is the younger generations are starting to recognize that those words shouldn't be there. So to finish off, as I talk about my passion for football and how I spotted a problem in my community and thought it was going to be an easy fix, I just wanted to leave 3 things. And to echo what Andy and David said from Google, almost like we planned this, anyone can solve a problem that they can see. It was never my ambition to set up a football club for girls. I'm so glad I did. It's probably the best thing I've ever done, but it wasn't my ambition. If I think about my mum and those simple messages she sent, we all have that ability, not just through our talent as creatives or strategists or writers, but just as humans, we have that ability to change something that we just see in front of us. The second is be resourceful. That film, which is really nice that you all clapped, it was shot on a BlackBerry in 2011, and I still feel sick about it, but it lives on the internet. And it's because although it's not perfect, and we're so used to things being perfect and the quality having to be amazing, actually, it did the job. And that's most important, and especially when you have no budget and you're relying on amazing network of creatives and friends and people that want to support what you're doing. It's just about thinking creatively about your lack of resources. And the last thing is collaborate always. I think from the start, I was really open, but I never imagined how many people would reach out, want to be involved. And I think it's not just with laces, but it's in anything. Always have that cup of coffee, always be open to that conversation, because you never really know what could come from it. But at the end of the day, I'd say 95% of laces has been done by other people. The 5% that I added was just making the connection at Stoke Newington Common that there should be a football club. Thank you.